What's good, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are feeling blessed out there. We are back with another video. Got my coffee, got to stay caffeinated. Today's topic is going to be based on information and context, something we previously talked about, but I want to further that discussion. As far as what are you seeing or listening to? Are you evolving with it? Does this bring value to the conversation or to the individual? Whatever you're thinking of, whatever you want to comment on. Do you understand their history? Do you understand their story? Can you see and understand the why behind what they're doing? And that can help you learn and also just be more conducive to the situation. So with that being said, it's very common for people to have this one-off kind of mindset or have these absolutes or definites and they just apply to everything. Whether it is something in the academic space, whether it's not, regardless of the spectrum, it doesn't matter. There's people with PhDs and masters and all that other stuff where they have the sciencey textbook information and it is helpful as far as research. But if it doesn't apply to the human being or the person in front of you that you're training or working with, it's not going to resonate. Then there's the other side of where, whatever people call it, bro science, the whole gamut of that balls to the wall, run through a wall kind of mentality too. And there's efficacy in that side too, not being, soft or whatever the case is, pushing through certain things to get growth and adaptation. There's positives to that as well. But sometimes we'll lend so far to one spectrum and whatever that thing is for somebody. Those are just two examples. For some people, it could just be like their holy grail is powerlifting. Their holy grail is only endurance running. Their holy grail is only sprinting, whatever the case is. And the more that we get bogged down in that realm, the smaller the scope gets. And it's like, it's so vast. Like, take yourself out of it. And we see it through comments, we see it through podcasts, we see it through whatever is being pushed. And you gotta think about it, that those are potentially chinks in the armor. I don't want to get into the point of just saying like, a master of none and versus the person who masters 10,000 kicks or whatever the case is. I think you do need to have a element of both. You need to, definitely have something that you specialize in, because that can be the domino effect for you to then learn about other realms. But I feel like if you get too skewed or too just high strung on staying in one realm or staying on I don't go through anything, I just go through a mile wide and like an inch deep, you can find yourself in a space where you're not going to be growing or evolving. But back to even the point of like comments or podcasts or whatever the case is, somebody will just see a couple reps of something or see something that could be deemed polarizing or deemed different, or even if it's not different and it's super basic, it's like, well, if it's not done in the way that they see it, a comment has to be mentioned or has to be said, or it's not being done correctly. It could be a few reps of something. Pause for 2 seconds. We all have different anatomy, different limb lengths, different whatever, just from strength-based movements. It could be tried and true, simple, basic evidence-based movements, a row, a vertical pull, a squat, a hinge. If there is any sort of, let's say we're talking about a hinge, because deadlifting is always a topic of conversation. Deadlifting is bad for your back. If I see any curvature or rounding in the spine, you're going to be fragile, you're going to break. Once again, pause. You have to then think of questions and peel back the layers. First of all, we're not fragile. If you go down, I know you're going to hear this and there'll be that person in the comments are thinking like, what he's going to bring up. Like if you go to reach down for a pen, your back bends. Yes, it does. It's not the same as if you were deadlifting 700 pounds off the floor. But at the same time, there's still functional movements and things that you are doing on a daily basis to where you are not going to be in this rigid, confined cardboard box to where it's like my shoulders have to be perfectly down and back and retracted and depressed for everything that I do. Like, no, if you stick to that realm or those confines, you over time are training your body, your mind to be in something that rigid or that locked. So when you do look to get certain things like shoulder flexion, or you do look to get certain things like, external rotation, it's not to say like if you are in that locked position, that you're permanently staying there, but it does limit the other degrees of freedom and ranges of motion that you do have. But even sticking to the deadlift example, like, one, we're not fragile and we have the ability to flex, lateral flex, extend, rotate, all these different things. On top of that, you got to then think or ask, is the person prepared to do that? That's number one. If they're prepared to do that and they can recover from it, there's nothing really to be had or said. You just are seeing something and observing something, okay, that's different. Maybe I almost think it's just one of those things, not I think, it's one of those things you're internalizing for yourself and then projecting. Like, I know I can't do that. Or, well, I wouldn't give that to my people. Those are not your people. Like, it's relative to the person and their demographic, whether a trainer or even just somebody who is an influencer, somebody just trains and wants to spread a good message of moving their body, and you see something and it's like, ooh. Now, obviously, if they're pushing a certain message and it could potentially be more harmful, that's open for discussion and things of that nature to further grow why maybe there's a disconnect or a gap. Maybe seeing that is like, ooh, that is kind of polarizing, and I don't know if I really agree, or I'm not sure if I see the evidence or whatever it may have you. But if they've done it for themselves and maybe they do have a wide demographic of people that they've worked with and it has been effective for them, maybe you can learn like, dang, okay, I didn't think like that. I don't understand how, but maybe I'm starting to get a glimpse of it. Maybe it takes a couple conversations. But back to even them being prepared for it, like, yeah, if they built their form or their foundation to a point where it's been effective for them to pull a certain amount of weight, be able to hold a certain amount of weight, and they don't have flare-ups or injuries like that often, and they continue to show up for it, it could be totally fine. The same way we see something like a few reps of a movement or a couple sets of something, and it's just like, that's not done correctly. Like, okay, so then what is correct? If we all are going to look potentially different while we're doing it and they get it done, like, what value does that bring to just spew that out? Yours might look different versus somebody else. There's a range of what can be effective or positive. And to be honest with that, you more so just have to think more to the individual. Like, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. As long as it's hitting the certain target tissues and muscles that were trying to be worked out, and they hit that region and they elicit a response and they recover and grow from it, that's it. Like, that's as simple as it can get. Hey man, being around a lot of people in the field, people that are inspiring, people that have been doing this for 4 or 5 decades worth of time and have seen the literature evolve throughout time. They've seen trends go, come back, stay throughout that time. The theme within that is the open-mindedness and the ability to learn, but also to be able to apply as well to what's relative to you and to your people. That open-mindedness of, you know what, I did think that way, or I would have been that rigid observing or seeing something, but now I see it slightly differently. Or even the ability to just be like, yeah, no, that was just a completely wrong stance. I was very adamant about that and I don't see it. Like, those are the qualities I think that are more important than somebody just coming to say or spew, this is the one way to do this and this is how I assert my stance or my, viewpoint on this thing, and that's helpful. Like, it's really not. It's just a one-off kind of thing. And like I said, because of how wide the spectrum is or how skewed it can be, like, is it really doing anything? Is it doing anything for the person that you relayed that to? Is it doing anything for your target demographic? Not really. Because again, everybody has a completely unique, different story. Everybody has a completely different mind frame about how they approach movement, how they explore movement, even if they care to want to explore movement. So when it's just these one-off kinds of, streams of thought or whatever the case is, I think it does more harm than good. If anything, it puts us in like, okay, it's black and white, there's no other way to look at it. And I'm like, that's not really that fun. Like, think about the entire distribution or colors of the rainbow. It's like, bro, you got orange, you got red, you got blue, you got green. Like, that makes that process that much more fun to figure out, like, oh wait, there's not one way to just look at this. Oh wait, there's not just one style of training. Oh wait, like, there's not just one approach with it. You can have that as a good foundation, and then have the ability to be able to like pinpoint and bounce around a little bit to then get back to a home message. But the home message should still just be whatever is conducive for the situation, not just what you feel is right. You can think of what you feel is right, but if it doesn't align with whatever you're trying to do, whether it's a goal for yourself or for whatever somebody else sees, it's not doing anything. Straight like that. And piggybacking off of that point, as far as continuous learning and being able to see the scope of multiple arenas and multiple realms, that is a huge thing within this field that we need to continue to push and continue to work on. Again, being around a lot of mentors and things of that nature, there's certain things that even articles and books and things that they have published themselves. And for even the 800 people that I've worked with, they've been in the thousands, and working with professional athletes, Olympians, celebrities, all those kinds of things. They still have an understanding like what the main task at hand is before we can get into specific movements and specific rep schemes and things of that nature. Because of, yes, science being a good foundation, but it also so skewed because our bodies are going to respond differently to these things. The main tasks at hand are the things that are epidemic within our country or within society and things of that nature. And that's just simply being sedentary, having metabolic syndrome and issues and conditions, and high blood pressure and diabetes and all those kinds of things. And we sometimes, especially if you're in the space of people that are moving, don't take that chance to take a step out to be like, wait a minute, even though it may be super familiar and comfortable for me, I'm like, out of every 10, maybe 2 of us are really moving, like on a consistent basis. Like, slow that down. So think about it when you come in with this such a narrow scope and you're ready to just jab or say this or whatever the case is without having a full scope or a 30,000 foot view. Those other 80% of individuals that are like on the fence with moving, or they've moved for a little bit, but they've done it in loops or cycles in their life, and then they pull back and then they go 3 years without moving. Like, they have it ingrained as a habit. So now you're giving them more of a barrier to entry and making them overthink and overanalyze in a society with the most amount of access to information that we've ever had. And it's like, where do I start? What is right? Am I doing this right, or am I doing this wrong? And it gives them no autonomy. It gives them no like sense of, oh, I can figure out and explore this on my own. I'm not going to always know that this is right or wrong, but I know that I'm moving, and that's putting me in a direction to discover what is going to be effective. And even when I get to that point, it's not the only way to go about this. It's the one that got me from point A to point B, and I'm thankful for it, and I learned something. But if I did another route, I would have learned a different lesson. You get what I'm trying to get at? Like, it's so vast. And I feel like that furthers the conversation, that immerses more people into the fold when we have that lens or we have that thought process. And that's when it's going to get more people to the main message of getting them active, getting them moving, getting them to explore, getting them to have fun. The whole point of that information, context, seeing from a different perspective, is getting connection, getting more community, getting more people empowered to move their body, because that just makes for better people, a better day-to-day, better society. It's that simple. I had to get that off my chest. There is even, as always, more to go into, but that's where I wanted to get at today. So hope you guys saw some value from that. I felt like that was a great discussion, great topic. Let me know if you have any comments in the comments or any questions. Like, comment, and subscribe as always, and I'm gonna catch y'all next time. Peace.